Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is going to be a 3 looks 1 palette featuring the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. I know this is a bit late, but it's up, so that's all that matters. I did 3 looks using kind of different mixes of the colors in this palette. The first look here is going to be using all of the warm shades on the left side. The second look is going to be using all of the bluer shades on the right side, and then the last look is my attempt at mixing the two without getting it looking muddy. So as you can see, the warm tones, the warm mattes in this palette work so easily and so well. You can see that I'm not having much issue blending. The only issue I ran into was with this redder shade. You can see here that I kind of over applied it, and you'll see later in the video that I over apply it again, and there's kind of a couple of dry patches on my eyelids as I'm still trying to keep my eyelids nice and moisturized, which can lead to the eyeshadow catching in some places and then failing to adhere in other places. I'm also testing out a couple of brushes from Refer, and I'll have a roundup video soon on the brushes that I recommend and do not recommend. I thought that adding a little bit of the dark brown would help with some depth, but as you will see with all of the looks in this using this palette, the entirety of the palette's colors are concentrated mostly in the middle of the road. So nothing is too terribly light, but nothing is too terribly dark either. So using that brown just added a very subtle effect. So all 3 of these looks are going to be fairly low-key and not super smoky and without too much contrast. I think for some people, I can definitely see why this would be an issue, especially for those who need an inner corner highlight in each palette. Because I wanted to keep these looks restricted to just the palette, you will see that I don't have much in the way of inner corner highlight in each look. For this look, for my inner corner, I was using the bright coral matte, but I wasn't really able to use much else because, well, there's just not one. It's not really a deal breaker for me. In situations like this, I would use the highlighter that's on my face on my inner corners for some cohesiveness, but I can see why it would bother some people. The other thing is, as you can see with the metallic that I'm applying here, these shimmer metallic shades are a lot more subdued than shimmers and metallics I've run into in her other palettes. I'm sure that this was deliberate on her part, given that the gold I'm applying here is definitely a lot more shiny and a lot more metallic than what I just applied prior. But if you are the kind of person who wants all of your shimmers and metallics to be very intense, then you're not going to like this palette. I personally think that there's definitely a time and place for such a finish, and I personally find it to be really pretty and subtle, but I can see why some people would be super disappointed. And that's it for this first look. The other thing is that I do not have any false lashes in any of these looks. I have been testing out a new mascara, seeing how I like it, and I've also been using New Lash to see if it actually makes my lashes grow, so I've just been trying that. For my second look, this is going to be the one that is majority cool. This pastel-y mint shade that I'm using on my inner corner, it's very powdery. You can definitely see visible dents in the pan when you put your brush into it. It's almost crumbly, and you can see that it kind of shows some of that dry texture on my eyelid. I had a similar problem with one of the pastel mattes in the Zendo LoPo palette, so this is definitely not the first time I've run into this, just kind of mentioning it, found it to be kind of strange. It performed fine other than that. As you can see, the metallics build up pretty well, but you can see that the effect is definitely more subdued than other metallics that she has given to us in the past. For a look like this, where I did not use much matte in the way of mattes and I'm only using these shimmer shades, it definitely will look fine, and it will still be able to have depth while also having a little bit of that shimmer to it. I didn't really like the look with just that almost like seaweed colored darker teal, so I'm adding in this dark turquoise just to add some color and to add a little more depth. And as you can see, it mixes really well with that prior teal to create a nice effect. I also am taking the dark turquoise kind of across the top of all the eyeshadow just to kind of add a little bit of graphic edge to an otherwise understated look. And then because again there's no real inner corner highlight, I'm just using that mint color on the inner corner of my lower lash line. There is some light fallout with the darker teal slash seaweed shimmer shadow, so I did have to kind of brush it off with a big powder brush a little bit. It's not too bad though. You can see that this look is now complete, and I will be adding, after I added the mascara, I did go ahead and I thought it needed a little bit more of that dark teal on the lash line, and after that the look is definitely complete this time. You can see it's really pretty. It has a bit of a graphic kind of accent to it, which makes it look a lot more interesting and engaging. And overall, I thought the color gradient was really nice. These are definitely colors I haven't seen in my collection yet. Lastly, I wanted to do a look where I'm using a combination of the left and right sides of the palette. A lot of YouTubers like Morgan Turner mentioned having some issues trying to use both sides of the palette in the same look because it was very muddy. So for this look, as you can see, I'm using a coral shimmer on the inner corner, but to bridge this coral shimmer with the more teal side of the palette, I'm actually going to be using this more gold toned shimmer between the two shades. This means that they're not going to blend directly into each other, and so we're not going to look as muddy because the more gold shimmer is going to blend with the more turquoise shimmer to produce a really flattering shade of green. So you can see here for the outer corner, I'm just very slowly building it up. I'm kind of slanting it in a little bit and then even going so far as to use it to define my lash line. And then as you can see, it blends really nicely into that gold tone shimmer and there is no muddiness. I really like to use this trick when using complementary colors, is to just find something to put in the middle between them so they aren't actually blending directly into each other. I did this with the Club Nebula palette 3 looks prior and I really enjoyed the effect. Now I'm just repeating all of this on the other eye. I personally did end up thinking that maybe there was a little lack of definition, so you can see I ended up taking that darker teal slash seaweed colored shimmer and I put it on the upper lash line as if it was a liner. And then I also decided to use that on my lower lash line, and then I thought I would try that cooler toned brown on my lower lash line, but I don't know, I think that kind of destroyed the look a little bit. It just makes me look like I am tired. I tried to rectify it by using that gold shimmer on my upper eyelid to kind of cover it up a little bit, and then I put the coral shimmer on the inner corner, but you can see that that darkness definitely weighs my eyes down, makes me look like I'm a little bit, maybe like I didn't sleep or something. It's okay, lesson learned. Other than that, you can see the upper eyelid has a beautiful gradient effect that goes from the orange to the turquoise. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope these 3 looks kind of inspired you, maybe gave you some tips on how to work with this palette without creating something that's a little bit muddy. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be back soon with more eyeshadow palette videos for you guys.